evening, everyone. So, Practical Cities is an initiative by young urban enthusiasts. Our vision is to create a framework for making cities livable and sustainable. Our objective is to learn from various best practices, innovative practices, case studies, success and failure stories from various urban practitioners or municipal officials, academicians, etc. So previously, in Masterclass 6, we learned about integrated urban water management from Vishwanath sir. Today, we'll be learning something new, a different topic known as waste management is resource management by Miss Kamna Swami. Good evening, ma'am. So Kamna ma'am is an urban social planner with an experience of 14 years working on various projects related to urban planning and development, business development, climate change and project advisory in public-private partnership specific to projects related to waste management. Ma'am is currently working as an advisor and project coordinator with GIZ International Services for the Project Äviral, that is reducing plastic waste in Ganga River. She has an extensive experience of working with various private sector agencies, bilateral agencies, NGOs, with also with government organizations in Swachh Bharat Mission, in NIUA, etc. Ma'am, I had this question in my mind: how can cities transform in a good decentralized manner in solid waste management? And please, can you share your viewpoint, your experience, and some best practices or case studies in waste management?
Mhm. Sure. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad to see the young and enthusiasts like you and your team that you are coming up with the sessions like this. And about your questions related to waste management, specifically the decentralized model, I can share the example of Goa municipal, Goa as a state altogether. That at a state level, how they have come up with the decentralized model where they have the source segregation, which is the key to solid waste management for any type of technology or processing, how they have come up at household level, and even at a ward level they have come up with material recovery facility, and also coming with the new innovative ideas that how to involve the informal waste workers there. And within the dry waste they are now categorizing the waste up to 16 categories, which is very, very commendable. So
Okay.
Goa is one example, and also in brief, I can share about the Kerala model where every household is doing the home composting. At least only the dry waste is taken care by municipal corporation, while in home composting, everybody is doing at home and also utilizing the manure for the household purpose.
Okay.
So I think once it comes to waste management, it depends on different selection criteria that what is possible. Like for example, Goa, what is possible in Goa or Kerala may not work in the other states, but
True.
how we can learn from each other and what makes it best use of each city. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would like to share the experience. I will not go since it's a very vast topic, so I have tried to make it as specific as possible and not make it too lengthy or technical.
True.
Yeah. Is it
Acha,
visible?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Not able to change the slide. So when it comes to waste management, we heard about different type of waste like industrial waste, construction waste, municipal waste, plastic waste. So waste itself has many types, and according to the different types, they are managed by different agencies. Today in the session, I will focus largely on municipal solid waste, which everybody deals with us, and also with the plastic waste management, where everybody is using plastic, and especially in the current COVID crisis we can see the use of plastic has increased tremendously. So if we look coming to that who is responsible for waste as such, so we all are responsible as a waste generator since everybody is creating waste. And if we look from the center, from the government point of view, that whose responsibility the waste management lies, we can see at the center level there is a role of preparing different rules and manuals, which is taken care by Ministry of Forest, Climate Change, Ministry of Forest and Climate Change, and also with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, who is largely responsible for the implementation of the waste management rules. If we look at the state, then we have a different departments like urban development department. We have a regulators like central state pollution control boards at different state level, and ultimately the municipal corporations who are largely responsible for the implementations of the rules which are created at center and guided for implementation at state level. So it is largely, it comes to the municipal bodies who are responsible for collection, transportation, processing, and scientific disposal of waste. If we look at the little bit of history, I think from 2000, that was a landmark that we come up with some rules of municipal solid waste management, the initial rules. And accordingly, for implementation, the technical wing of the ministry, CPHEO, has come up with the manuals. And these, you can see in the table that these are the key development that have happened from 2000 onwards. And today, if we look at it, then we have a new solid waste management rules, which also take care of construction and demolition waste, new plastic waste management rules, which are separate. And of course, the flagship program of Swachh Bharat Mission, who is taking care of, apart from the sanitation, the toilets, also taking care of the solid waste management. So, if we look at the current scenario globally, in very brief, if we see that India is the largest producer of solid waste as per the World Bank report, what is a waste number two. But if we look at the per capita waste generation, we are lower than the global average. And looking at the map, it is also easily visible that the waste generation is very directly related with the standard of living. So the low income countries are generating less waste per capita, while the high income countries like the US, if you look at it, the waste generation rate is quite high. So although individually we are generating less waste, but knowing our population, the volume of the quantity of waste that we generated and contribute globally is tremendous. And it is also projected that if it goes like business as usual, then by 2050 the projected increase will be 70%. Looking closely at the Indian waste scenario, so as per again the World Bank report, Delhi generates highest quantity of waste, followed by the metropolitan cities of Mumbai, Chennai. And if we look at the total scenario, our waste is largely coming from the biodegradable, the waste which constitute around 40 to 60%, which is compostable. And then we have a good recycling material because of the informal sector involvement. The percentage of recycling is also good. And then we have around some 30 to 50%, which varies from city to city about inert percentage. And if we look at the total generation, these are the figure with the improvement of interventions through the flagship programs. The collection rate of the municipal solid waste has improved, which is now come to approximately 98% as per the CPCB data. And the disposal, the treatment part, the scientific treatment is limited to 36%, where the the government is also putting a lot of pressure through different technologies, through different coming on cluster approaches, which we will talk about.
Okay.
Similarly, I'm trying to focus also on giving an overview of plastic waste management. That plastic, as such, because of its quality, that it's very light, it's cheap, it's strong, easily available, it can be recycled. It is used tremendously in everybody's lifetime. I think everybody has used plastic or will be using plastic at one point in time. From 1900 it is since 1900 it is in utilization, and there is a drastic increase in rate of plastic production as well as consumption. If we closely look at it, it's 50% of this plastic is a single use plastic. And if we go by the data, till now only 9% has been recycled globally. And everybody is now aware about the marine litter problem, which is where 80% of the marine litter is because of the plastic that the the animal habitation in the seas are also getting affected. Although 80% of this plastic is coming from the land based, so I think it's very important that if we want to solve the problem of marine litter, then we should address the concern from the land based interventions. In Indian scenario, if we look at it, unlike global scenario, the rate of increase of plastic consumption is increased over the years. If we look at the statistics from the state's point of view, Maharashtra has the highest number of plastic usage. Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu both together has 12%. So these seven states are contributing large plastic production, while if we look at the laws, existing laws, they are also doing good. For example, Maharashtra has banned the single use plastic as one of the initial states. On World Environment Day, which is hosted by India, there was announcement that single use plastic will be phased out by 2020, and later on this deadline is now extended to 2022. But while implementation or phasing out these rules of no plastic, saying no to single use plastic, I think there is a lot of challenges. First of all, that there is no one definition of single use plastic. Every state has their own definition. So when it comes to the implementation of these rules or guidelines, then the lack of definition also creates problem. Another problem is that how to implement it. For example, the carry bags, like unless we can ban on the production side, and also if we look at the multi-layer packaging, which
Okay.
is a very good, very difficult to recycle, especially the pouch culture that has come up, that everything is available in pouches, which makes it difficult for collection purpose and subsequently at recycling. If we look at the IIT study which they have done in Delhi, the one fifth of the drains which got clogged is largely because of this plastic, and the major amount of plastic is coming from this gutka, pan masala packets, the pouches culture that is coming in India and everywhere. So there are measures which have been taken at a policy level, but at the same time, for when it comes to implementation, there is a long way to go ahead. So if we look at the different options of municipal solid waste, this is the table which is coming from a planning commission report, which states that what all technologies can be used for treating this municipal solid waste. It depends on the type of waste. For example, biodegradable, you can go for composting, making it manure. You can also go for power generation by biomethanization. For dry waste, for the combustible fraction, you have a thermal processes of gasification, incineration, pyrolysis, etc. for power generation, and CND waste needs to be recycled by making some another brick material or other material which can be reused in the construction. And Delhi was the first country in India, the city in India, that where we have started with the CND waste management plan, where they are using the recycled products for different purposes, and now the other cities are also coming up with similar facilities. Even in the new rules, they have combined the construction and demolition waste so that it is managed properly.
Okay. Good.
But whatever the technique or whatever the technology is required for solid waste management, let's have a look at it, that what exactly it reveals, because it contains the biodegradable fraction which we talked about, the dry material, as well as the domestic hazardous material which we have discussed. So just to make it little bit easy, the biodegradable is the one which is, which is nature based. If we look at it, it's organic, it can be broken down by fungi and bacteria. The dry material is largely the man made material, the paper, the dry waste, which basically in Hindi, if you want to learn, you can call it jo jal sakta hai wo gal nahi sakta. So
Yes.
jo gal sakta is going for the compost, and the one which has a combustible value is the dry waste. Apart from it, there is a domestic hazardous waste like sanitary napkins, like the medicine bills, etc. So there, these are the three types of waste which largely needs to be segregated. So we'll come to the segregation in next slide. So here is the whatever technology you want, from centralized to decentralized, from any technology, you need to have a source segregation in place. Here I will not, I will give it a pause and basically share the best practice of one of the project which I was also involved, called Project Alag Karo, which is a good example of private partnership like GIZ, Coca-Cola India and Tetra Pak. They have implemented in Gurgaon, and you can see from the photographs that what is the impact of the project numbers. And here I would just like to show you one small 1 minute video which talks about how easy the source segregation is.
When we separate and segregate everywhere else, then why not here? If separated at source, waste is a resource. All you have to do is segregate your waste using 3 bins: green for wet waste, blue for dry waste, and red for domestic hazardous waste. Up to 90% of waste can be recovered and reused through composting, recycling, and effective treatment, resulting in a reduction in landfills and garbage burning, giving us clean air, water, and soil. Remember, once it's mixed, it can't be fixed. अलग करो हर दिन 3 दिन अलग करो
It's not that one has to first mix and then segregate, it's just putting in the right bin. So there is a lot of maybe we can say excuse about, not doing the segregation, that waste, the ultimately the waste collector, the municipalities doesn't have those type of infrastructure, they get it mixed. But at the same time, of course, there is a need to work on those infrastructure requirements, that once it is segregated, it needs to be collected, transported, and processed in the segregated manner. But at the same time, we should not make it as an excuse that why, if the government is not ready, then why should we do it? At least you are giving a clean waste to the waste picker who is coming at your doorsteps and collecting it. He has a safe access to the waste which he is taking, so that at least he is not getting injured. Because it has been seen many times that people just throw everything in one bin, and then, from that dirty thing, he has to, under different difficult conditions, he has to take out the material which he can sell and get some additional revenue. So even we are pushing for the government to do for the necessary arrangement, I think should not be taken as a excuse for not doing the waste segregation from your side. So coming from the informal sector contribution, I would like to share one best case studies, two case studies here, which talks about how the informal waste workers who are doing from ages, who are doing the tremendous job and saving a lot of money and resources for municipal corporation. The study shows that there are approximately 4 million informal waste workers, and but the rules although recognize, they acknowledge that the important role that they have, but when it comes to implementation, there is still a long way to go. If we look at the different studies, then where there is a private sector has come in, the informal workers is also affected very negatively by reducing the income. By, it's about who has the access or right over the waste. The most important challenges which they face is about the unregulated, they are unregistered, they are working in dangerous unhygienic conditions, often lacks the social and financial security, and that's why they are the poorest among the poor who gets into this work. One can see a lot of child labor also that is involved in the waste, informal waste workers. But at the same time, we have some success stories, like for example Pune. So there is another link of YouTube, you can go it later on, that talks about how the women waste pickers have come up in the form of a corporation, and they have a direct partnership arrangement with the Pune Municipal Corporation, and they are providing the services of door to door waste collection. Similarly, on right hand side, you can also see some beautiful outputs that have been come from the waste pickers created by the waste, because from the waste material it is coming from the Gulmeher initiative at Gazipur landfill site, where in partnership with NID they have come up with the designs, because in Gazipur nearby area there is a fool mandi, the flower mandi shop, and from the flower waste you can create these beautiful materials. And with now Diwali coming in, there will be lot of candles and other gifting material which will be made by these letters. So there are some case studies which are there, but it has to be implemented or replicated at different areas. So, also, I would like to share globally what's happening related to the plastic waste management, especially the marine litter problem. So, it is recognized globally that there is a lot of challenge that has been come when it comes to plastic waste in the oceans, and there is a not-for-profit organization which has been come up as an alliance to end plastic waste, where global companies across the world they have come together. These are the petroleum producers company, the recycling, everybody they have joined together and come up with the commitment to invest around 1.5 billion US dollar in next 5 years. And the approach is that they are going by project approach, rather than, since they are coming at a global level, but for implementation, for the interventions, they are going from different, they have identified the key areas where the interventions are required, and accordingly the project approach is followed. So the project which I am right now working is also funded by Alliance to End Plastic Waste, called Project Äviral, which is yet to be announced officially by Alliance. It is implemented in Haridwar and Rishikesh, and the overall aim is how to reduce the plastic waste in the environment. And there we are undertaking number of activities, land-based activities again, because ultimately it is coming from the land, like from capacity building of municipal officials, coming up with material recovery facilities, which we will talk about later, and how the communication, the behavioral change among the communities, and also among the tourists, because both the cities are highly tourist driven cities. So that is the approach of Alliance that they have come. They have also implementing other projects in other areas which you can visit, like Renew Ganga in Varanasi. They have coming with the new project, since it's only a 1 year organization, so they have just started. The basic principle is to think act to think global but act local. I think that needs to be local, and projects and partnerships and waste, how it can be turned into worth, and the new models. So they have also come up with partnerships at different, where they have expertise so that the learnings can be shared globally. When it comes to plastic waste management, especially the extended producer responsibility, which is a part of plastic waste management new rules. So there at India level also, there is a guidelines which are now issued by the ministry, that how to implement these extended producer responsibility, which means that the producer of the plastic is responsible for collecting it. But it's not that easy, since plastic is a material which is used, it has a multiple types, it is used, goes to several hands. It's not easy that to get the buyback arrangement. So for that they have come up with the guidelines which were open for the comments, and also come up with this producer responsibility organization who act on behalf of the corporates. And there they have come up with the, for the EPR compliance, this technology, so which largely take care of how to bring the transparency, how do you capture that from this waste is generated, by inform how they can involve the informal workers which are anyways involved in the recycling of plastic material, and how one can track it and then claim it as a part of EPR compliance. So in India, there is an association, Packaging Association for Clean Environment, where 31 major companies have come up and committed an amount for building the infrastructure, also bringing the transparency with the initiative called Closing the Loop Initiative, which aims that how to build the system so that one can actually track, and how one can actually implement the EPR, which is there in the rules but not implemented efficiently. So material recovery facility, which I was talking about, which is very useful for plastic waste as well. is the facility which comes where the non-compostable dry waste material is temporarily stored, where with the help of informal waste workers, they get a proper space where they can further segregate it into different types of plastic or glass bottle, paper, cardboard, etc. So that from there they can be channelized for the efficient resource recovery. So as per the circular economy principle, the highest priority is for getting the maximum value from the waste. So from the waste generator, once it comes to doorstep waste collector, in this MRF facility, if you can look at this diagram, that within this MRF facility, how the waste workers are segregating, then from there it is going to the scrap dealer, then to the small aggregator, then to the large aggregator, and from there it goes for the recycling. So it this is also very much appreciated or funded by the MRFs, by the Swachh Bharat mission, as well as the state pollution control board are also giving funding for setting up these MRFs. There is a public private models which are initiated in our project Äviral. Also we will be setting up two MRF facility, one in each city. UNDP has come up with the Hindustan Coca-Cola Private Limited, that 22 MRFs across they have already set up. So once these MRFs are set up, I think it serves a lot of purpose in terms of informal sector inclusion, integration, as well as per the principle of circular economy, how the maximum waste can be recovered, the value of the waste can be recovered. But still there are some percentage of waste. If we can look at it, the multi-layer packaging, for example, the non-recyclable fraction which becomes a problem. So for that type of waste, the non-recyclable one, where there is no value left for recycling, it's not economically viable, it can be turned into a refuse derived fuel, which can be used in an alternative fuel in the cement plants. So this is called as the co-processing of RDF in cement plants. And ministry has come up with the guidelines on use of RDF, because once we look at the if we look at very closely, then the barriers, if we can see that the cement industry is not very ready to take up this waste, because their main business is to come up with cement production. They can use it the alternative fuel, but that need to be processed and to meet certain standards so that it is easy for them to use it in their industry. So if we look at the challenges, then from municipality point of view, they were not ready to invest in the RDF making, because they were not sure whether it will be taken by the municipality, by the cement plant or not. There is a risk of rejection, and there is no price which they will get it, and then there is a transportation price which is involved. If we look from the cement producer point of view, they were uncertain about the quality of RDF that they will be getting. Then so there is a lot of we can say that nobody was sharing this responsibility, that how to come up with a system where the market forces can also make it a profitable version. So there these guidelines have defined that if you are making a RDF of one category, then how much you can get the price from this. And since in cement industry there is a very high temperature of more than 1400 degrees Celsius, so the environmental parameters, the norms are very very stringent. So to burn this type of RDF in cement plant is safe, and the CPCB has also done various testing before promoting this. So Geocycle is one of the arm of Lafarge Group, who is into this business, where they tie up with different municipal corporations also, and then they process it at their end to some extent, and then they use it in the cement plants. So they have across India, they have many facilities along with that. And the Goa example which I was sharing is also using the RDF which they have made from the landfill reclamation of Goa. And at the right hand side, you can also see the map which locates that how many cement industries we have around 100 kilometers radius. We have mapped it under GIZ project, so that we can calculate that which municipalities waste which can be turned to RDF can be utilized by these cement plants. So I'm just trying to summarize that how the waste management sector is. First of all, also I would like to mention that It is also a problem for from a climate change perspective if we look at it, because the greenhouse gas emissions, they are 25 times more harmful than the the carbon dioxide. If we look at it, the biodegradable waste is the highest one, which is which emits lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So once we are improving the waste management system, we are also contributing in improving the climate change perspective, and also contributing in the sustainable development goals, as it involves lot of economic activities improvement if we are moving towards the responsible consumption and production as per the circular economy principle, the sustainable cities and communities where the environment is good, the decent work and economic growth, especially for the informal waste workers which are there, and lot of industry and innovations and infrastructure which is required for managing this challenge. If we look at the social goals, then of course the poorest of the poor communities involved in the waste management. So it brings improvement in reducing the poverty, reducing the gender inequality, good health and well-being. And also the case study shows that it all depends on the partnerships model, that how the public, private, and even the waste generators are equally responsible for this. And the environmental benefits, as I mentioned, about the climate action, about the clean water and sanitation, the life below the water, because the marine pollution is a problem, the life on land, because lot of landfills are contaminating not only the land but also the groundwater because of the leachate. So these are the goals where they are the improved waste management system can contribute. Also, how I think all of us can contribute, since all of us are generating waste on daily basis. So as we mentioned, that segregation, which is as easy as important as 1 2 3, and also by refusing, like for example, I think now everybody is quite aware about how you can reduce the plastic footprints, at least by bringing your own bags, by using, not saying no to the single use plastic at least. So I will not go in details, I'm sure everybody awares about it. It's a matter of how we are following. And since we all are urban planners, I think the most important is that while proposing anything in future or working with the government or advising from our side, we should respect the waste hierarchy, which first talks about the source segregation, the reuse recycle model, and later on comes to the energy recovery, and also for landfilling is the last option. So I think we should keep in mind those principles. And above all, I think most important that how we can also raise awareness about it, because since we are here, we always think these are very simple things, but when it comes to sharing these knowledge with others, we realize that it's very important, and a very small knowledge can bring the change. For example, if we I'm just giving one very small example, that while something new comes up and we cut it, for example, the milk pouches that we cut, so instead of cutting it into two pieces, that the smaller portion will remain there, it will create a littering problem. It is like a small sachet. So while you are cutting any packaging, just don't cut it till end, stop it beforehand, so that the cut is also a part and it can go for a recycling mode. So these are very very small things which we can keep in mind. And also I think together we can make some difference, at least for raising the awareness, which we have some knowledge about waste management. And yeah, so these are the key reference documents. If somebody is interested to know more about the topic, about the rules, about the different advisories, you can go through them. And if there is anything, then I'm happy to share more knowledge on the subject if anybody is more interested. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. It was a wonderful presentation, and we learned a lot about the initiative about Goa, EPR, closing the loop initiative, and various other things. Also, the last point that you talked about is sharing the knowledge. So, also in practical cities, we are trying to share this various knowledges. So, we are trying to create a theme-based uh, thing. So, firstly, we shared knowledge about urban governance. In that, we shared decentralized governance and various things, municipal finance. Now, this time we'll be sharing about water and sanitation, and we are having you in waste management. Like
Mm-hmm.
next sessions will be related to sanitation and other things. Talking about awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we promote behavioral change model in waste management? So, ma'am, actually, each and every citizen in India or any place knows that waste segregation is important,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when it comes to practical implementation of that thing, then people are getting somewhere behind. It's not up to mark. So, how can we change that behavior?
So yeah, so as you mentioned that everybody broadly knows about it, but also they find it little bit complication. So once we say, the segregation, they feel that they themselves have to segregate the waste. So it's not about segregating it, just putting in the right bin. So I think we can take the examples from our own culture, which anyways we have habit of segregation. I think we are the ones who use every material till its end of life when it comes to anything like clothes, etc. So I can say that the habit of saving is there inbuilt in our genes, if I can say. It's only a matter of responsible habit of throwing away, that we are not concerned if some other person who is there, who is coming and taking up our waste, but it will take time, as I mentioned. And now on the communication, different outputs or what tools which we can use, I find this video, for example, over WhatsApp we circulated, and it really hits you sometime that it's not that difficult, and anyways we are doing it. So this video is just one of the example. And from the childhood, I think children are the best example, and now they have also started doing it, that when it comes to children, they go back and ask their parents themselves that what we are doing about our waste. So that needs to be inbuilt from the beginning, from the school education. So that's how the change will bring, I think, because it's a behavioral change, so it will not come automatically. But with the different efforts of government, especially with the Swachh Bharat mission Abhiyan, I have seen that, especially when it comes to municipalities. I remember, since I'm working in this sector for long, earlier if you go for a waste management project, that was not that much priority, that okay, it's there, it's our problem. But now municipalities themselves are seeking solutions for waste management because of the priority, because of the Swachh Sarvekshan. They are taking pride in, for example, Indore, they have maintained number one position for years, and every citizen is taking pride that they have done. So before, I think, Swachh Bharat mission or any government initiatives, I could not imagine that people can take pride even in, their city is very clean. So behavioral change will take its time, but at the same time we should not, and it needs to be consistent. It can't be like one way and then we forget about it. The efforts which I shared about Alag Karo project was also 2 years efforts, which we took in the areas of Gurgaon, where there is a lot of people, corporate working people. So
Yeah.
there also consistently 2 years efforts take up, then resident welfare associations took the responsibility.
Okay.
So it take consistent efforts. Yeah.
And ma'am, also, say for example, Indore case study or Goa case study. So there are
Mhm.
some good practices happening. So how can we? So there are lots of challenges faced while replicating those best practices or innovative ideas in various other small towns or cities. So
Mhm.
what, according to you, are those key challenges, and how can we overcome them?
So yeah, so I think the most important factor is the municipal corporations, which are primarily responsible. I personally feel that they have all the responsibilities but very limited resources, because once you go to them, they have only one health officer, who first of all is day to day, he's responsible for everything. Then there is some VIP demands that this area needs to be clean. So I feel for making any changes, it's very important to not only do the trainings and capacity development of municipal officials, but also to strengthen their workforce, to bring the right workforce, the human resources that are required to to implement. Because it's not fair that put them responsibility but don't give them resources, which is right now I feel is happening, that there is a lot of scope for strengthening them. in fulfilling their responsibilities.
Ma'am, the last question that what a lot of my friends were asking about that, uh, what is a good topic to research in as a student, or there are lots of things in solid waste management or plastic waste management. So what are the good topics that a young professional or students can research in? And there are also scopes of startups in plastic waste or waste management sector.
Mhm.
Please highlight something.
Sure, sure. So I think still there is a lot of scope for research on the technologies which are there for processing of different type of solid waste material, because there is a heterogeneity. There is still some kind of waste which is challenged even today. For example, multi-layer packaging is just an example. So if we can focus on the technological interventions, or what is the right technology for different types of waste, like some of them are established, like composting for biomethanization, you have other technologies. But for the difficult part of the municipal solid waste, what technological interventions we can do, I think that is the area one can go deeper. And also for plastic waste management, I think I will also take the opportunity of announcing that in our project we are also coming up with the grand challenge where the innovative ideas will be implemented. So in both the cities, so we will announce the grand challenge soon. And if they are working in the companies where the innovations on plastic waste management, it could either be the improvement of the value chain, or it could be anything related to address the plastic waste management problem from a tourist perspective. So I think the innovations in plastic waste management, the alternatives to plastic is the key, because of its I can say not exactly benefits, but the merits of its qualities that we are not able to phase out. Even everybody knows about the harmful effect, somewhere we ignore it because of the convenience of using the plastic.
Yes.
So I feel that if there is any alternatives, or there is any, all the companies are also working, for the design change, for the alternative material, for packaging, etc. Because there is a lot of pressure on everywhere. So if the startups can work on the alternative material which can be used in place of plastic, which is eco-friendly, and lot of things are happening. I think yesterday only in Man Ki Baat, there is one case study which he mentioned that in Northeast there is a silk, that lotus thread that they have make up, and they are making products out of it. So a lot of things are happening, and there is a lot of potential for startups to look into it.
Uh, Thanks a lot, ma'am. It was a wonderful session. I'm just recollecting one of my thesis topic. In 2015-16, I did a thesis on plastic waste, using of plastic waste in road materials. So starting में it was lot of criticism that this won't go, this won't work out, and that then we also got an award and after completing my thesis. So we had guided by Nirav sir from Alpha College.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. So we got to learn that how plastics can even be used in road materials in concrete as a civil engineer.
Yeah.
So
I
thank
think only need to be careful about the use of plastic, that it is not going back into the cycle, because everything has a end of life. So once, even after recycling, there is end to everything. So how efficiently we are, it should not come back to the chain. So how efficiently we are using it, we should be careful about it wherever alternative usages we are planning.
you. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for the wonderful masterclass.
Thank you for giving this opportunity, and I really congratulate you and your team for all your efforts.
Thanks.